is happening, people, and welcome to today's video where I just finished up the week's testing for the 45 Masters Sessions program, and I absolutely loved every single second of the 45 Masters program. So if you are looking for something to run, I would highly recommend that you give that a shot, because I walked away from it with a bunch of post-injury PRs. I'm stronger than I've been literally in like years. So I'm super stoked to talk to you guys about that, about how the program went in general, and then where I'm headed from here. However, I do not want to waste anyone's time, so let's just jump right into it. And I want to start out by talking about squats. So for this particular program, I chose not to go with the back squat or the front squat or really any sort of traditional squat variation. What I went with was the Axel Zercher squat from the floor. Now, the best that I achieved all program long was this 455-pound lift that you're watching here. And I know a lot of people looking at the Axel are thinking I'm doing that to kind of alleviate some of that pain of the barbell being on your forearms, but that's not really the case. Whether you use a barbell or an Axel, they feel very similar when it's actually the weight is on your arm. But I think the Axel is a good bit harder for a couple of reasons. Number one, it is a lot fatter, which means that it doesn't sit as deep in the crook of your elbow, making it harder to hold on to. Number two, since there is no knurling on the Axel, it makes it slip out a lot more when your hips shoot up like they tend to do when you're doing any sort of heavy Zercher lift. And then number three, there are no bearings in the collars, allowing those plates to spin when different momentums and forces hit them. So when you start driving out of the Zercher squat with an Axel and those plates start rolling forward, you need to arrest that momentum on your own instead of with a barbell where it would just allow them to spin. So the thinking here is that if I can hit weights this heavy with the Axel, then when I move on to the barbell, when I try to go heavy on this again, then hopefully I'll be able to go a good bit heavier, reaching that 500-pound Zercher squat from the floor goal that I am really hoping to do. Deadlifts. All right, the best rep that I pulled all program long was this 635-pound single that you see here. And this was a big deal. Getting back up to 6 plates in the quarter is just kind of a milestone, because the next step is going to be 7 plates or 675 pounds, which is a big deal and something that has always been a cool number for me to pull throughout my entire life. So I'm very stoked about that. And really a huge part of my goals in this program was to normalize pulling 600 pounds again. So I think 6 or 7 different times throughout the entire program, I went above 600 pounds and pulled a different variation or a different rep number or whatever the case may be. But now I feel confident that I can walk into the gym and pull 600 pounds any given day and just kind of pull it off. But I'm really looking forward to where this goes, and the deadlift feels very strong and technically proficient for me right now. So all good things. Now, for the more deep pressing part of this, we're going to talk about my pressing, because if you did not know, I have a torn rotator cuff as well as a torn proximal bicep, and I am not getting either one fixed. And both of those play a huge role in the overhead press and its stabilization. So I need to be very careful with this. Most of my pressing needs to be at very light weights, high reps, doing things like that, because if I am going to re-injure the area at all and never be the same again, it's going to happen by pressing too heavy too often, which is something that in the past I've had a tendency to do. If you guys didn't know, my best strict press of all time was 330 pounds, and now my best post-injury strict press right here is a 205-pound press, which isn't terrible. It's not back up to my body weight, which is someplace that I'd like to be, but it's just not there yet. Now, when I did add some leg drive, I was able to jerk 255 pounds, which is heavier than I expected it to be, but it's still not up. I would like to be up around the 275 portion, just the 2 plates and the quarters, just to have it a nice round number, but it's not quite there yet. It will get there with time, but again, I just need to be very careful with how heavy I'm pressing and how often, because I really do not want to re-injure the situation. I'm not getting surgery done on it because of risk. Right now, I am not in pain. I'm able to do a lot of things. And if I do get surgery, most likely that's not going to be the case anymore, and it could lead to a lot more complications. So 4 different doctors have told me that it is not a good idea, so that is why I am not getting surgery, for those of you wondering why I would choose not to do that. And finally, in more depressing news, let's go over the bench press as well. Now, my lifetime bench PR of all time has been 505. I am slightly below that here with a 335-pound press. However, this one is a big deal to me, because last time that I tried pressing 335 pounds, I re-injured this shoulder. It was a big deal. I had to start back over with an empty bar like I had many times in my life. But for me, it's a really big deal to get back to this number, be able to press it confidently without any pain, without any problems, with decent speed. So I'm taking this as a win. When I try to get heavier again, hopefully I'll be able to put a little bit more pounds on the bar, but for right now, being able to hit that number with confidence definitely does something inside my head to help me feel good about moving forward in the future. Now, the program as a whole was an absolute blast to run. I was really happy with how it turned out. It was the right amount of work. You got to max out at different variations with different reps. The volume was always enough, and then the assistance finisher was always challenging to the point that you wanted to give up, but you could still push through and finish if you wanted to. I think most of the workouts only took me about 40 minutes long to complete, so it was an absolute blast. I would highly recommend it for any of you who are looking for a program to run. Now, for me, my next step, since I just came off doing a bunch of deadlifts above 600 pounds, I'm going to start incorporating more of the back squat, the regular squat, some more traditional variations into my training, and I'm going to move on to a new version of the RPM program. Now, RPM stands for reps per minute because the entire program is based off of the clock, and the clock is your coach. For those of you who have run the original RPM program, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This program isn't really designed to make you hit numbers you've never hit before. It is more about building work capacity, building your conditioning, dropping body fat, doing things like that, and it is by its nature just a little bit lighter, so it works as a bridge program when you're coming off something heavy like I just am, and you're going to move on to something heavy. Sometimes it's nice to have a couple weeks where you kind of give your central nervous system a break, your mind a break, just give everything a break, and that is what I'm going to try to do here. Now, I am finishing up the editing of it. It's already written. It's all done. I'm just doing some testing of some of the workouts, some of the finishers, all those types of things. And then it will be ready for release probably in about a week or 2 weeks, I would say, for all of you. And it'll be available at neverstate.com. But for right now, if you guys are looking for a program, again, I could highly recommend the 45 Master Sessions program because it is a ton of fun to run. So that is what I have for you guys today. I thank you so much for all of you who are interested in my well-being, in how things are going, in how my lifting's going. So really cool. I thank you so much for all the ways to support the channel, all the ways to support me, just all the love. It truly means the world to me, and I thank you so much. I will catch you guys later in the week. Until I do go out something amazing in your lives, keep working hard, people. Be nice to each other. I'll see you then.